My name is Andrew Canulet. I am the editor of the St. Tammany Farmer, and it's our privilege to be here with you today. Can you hear me better now? Sorry about that. The candidates will start with 1-minute opening remarks, and they will speak in alphabetical order, starting with Michael Blosh.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being here today, and I also want to thank the Chamber for providing this opportunity today. My name is Michael Blosh, and I have had the privilege of living in Mandeville pretty much my whole life. I've been married to Carrie Jones Blosh for 19 wonderful years, and we have a 14-year-old daughter. I proudly served my country in the military. I've served my city for 13 years as a member of the Planning and Zoning Commission. I've also served my committee by volunteering for nonprofits, created a nonprofit, the Ozone Music Education Foundation, and also started a business, VN's Tea House and Cafe, for 12 and a half years. But I'm really concerned about the direction that Mandeville is headed in at this time. The city's been plagued by bad gridlock by the city council. Instead of being able to work together, what we've gotten is an administration who's at constant odds with them. This can't continue. These are the things that I want to work on to forge new relationships, communications, and partnerships within City Hall.
Hi, my name is Chad Bordelon. I'm an engineer from LSU. I'm the most trained person Disney has ever produced that doesn't work for Disney. I have extensive business training from Babson College, the #1 entrepreneurial college in the world. I worked for the Army and Air Force as an environmental compliance officer. I'm a business developer, commercial and residential contractor, ordained minister, and owner and founder of the nationally award-winning Fleur de Lis Event Center. My wife Karen and I have been married 27 years. We have 5 kids, 3 of which are adopted from Russia. But those qualifications aren't enough. In fact, none of us here today have the training or experience to manage a city with $25 million budget and 120 employees. So I'm running for mayor to fire the mayor by changing the city charter to transition from a strong mayor-council form of government we currently have to a professional city manager-council form of government. Simple question. Would you rather have a politician or a professional city manager as the CEO of Mandeville?
Good afternoon. I'm Brian Henley. I'd first like to say thank you to the Chamber of Commerce for having this forum, and I would also like to thank all of the other candidates here today for answering the call to public service. I'm a professional disability advocate, and I help individuals navigate various government processes to get what they need and deserve. And I'm here today to help you get what you deserve from the government as well. I'm a lifelong resident of Mandeville. This is my first time running for any sort of political office. And as a single father, I have a vested interest in our community. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Clay Madden. I first want to thank the Chamber of Commerce for hosting this event, and I want to thank the staff of the Chamber. I know how much work goes into it. I grew up here in Mandeville. I jumped off the shack. I camped out in the woods where Bistro Byron's is now, and I chose to move back here to raise my little girls. I have 2 little girls. We have 1 on the way. We do not know the gender, and they're my life. I already feel victorious because of them, and my beautiful wife, Emily, who's not able to be here today. I have a master's degree in public administration. I have 8 years' experience as a city councilman at large, representing the entire city. I've chosen to zero in on something that's been successful in my life, my marriage, my job, which is listening. I feel that several people in Mandeville have not been listened to, and I've decided lead by listening is going to be the foundation of my campaign. That includes residents, that includes businesses, that includes police officers, that includes homeowner association presidents. I'll be talking more about my Madden plan at a later time, and again, I thank the Chamber for being here.
Good afternoon. Thank you to the Chamber for providing this forum. My name is Lorraine Sika. I was born and raised on the North Shore. I graduated from St. Scholastica Academy. I have an undergraduate degree from LSU, go Tigers, and a Juris Doctorate from Loyola Law School. I opened and operated Ray L., a small business in both Covington and Mandeville, and I had that for 20 years. In 2012, I formed Worthy Paws St. Tammany, a nonprofit for homeless pets in our community. In 2016, I was honored to be elected Mandeville City Council at large. I am proud of my accomplishments while on the council. I have proven that I can work with others, take action, and get results. My accomplishments include reducing the salary of the mayor for the next term, setting term limits for the Planning and Zoning Commission, strengthening the animal cruelty regulations, designating Pottery Hill as a landmark site, and forming the Coastal Erosion Committee for the purpose of researching flood solutions. I would like to continue serving the city as mayor, and I hope that I have your support in the April 4th election. Thank you.
Okay, thank you to each of the candidates for the opening remarks. So now we're going to ask 5 individual questions. You'll each have a designated amount of time to answer these. And the first question, which will be answered by Mr. Chad Bordelon first, is what is your vision for economic development within the city limits of Mandeville, including Port Maroney? You have 2 minutes.
Our current planning and zoning process is unreasonably difficult on the front end. For example, the Port Maroney project took 2 years and $500,000 of city legal fees to reject, while we have little to no code enforcement. I want you to imagine Mike Piazza and Kelly McHugh, they're an architect and a civil engineer, having lunch at Liz's, and they come back to their offices, which are separated by a driveway. When they drive in, what they see is an old car, a Sealand container, and an old burned out house. And by the way, it's been there for 5+ years. I can't even imagine the ordinances this is breaking, not to mention life safety codes, and imagine kids playing in a compromised structure. At the same time, many of us were at the Lieutenant Governor event at Fontainebleau that packed hundreds, and hundreds weren't allowed to come in due to fire safety in a concrete building. I'm just wondering why the double standard. You see, in the strong mayor form of government, something that isn't working has a tendency to be avoided, withhold information, and hope that things get better the next election. Where in a city manager form, a professional city manager must explain to his staff. And the reason this helps with economic development is because as a developer, I can tell you the only thing I'm interested in is a clear path. And that's what we need. We need to understand what we're supposed to do. Mandeville is effectively closed for business. Thank you.
So the plan for the future of business and commerce here in Mandeville Mandeville has a healthy and diverse business community, and we want to keep it that way. But moving forward, we also want to fill various vacancies, such as the Winn-Dixie on Causeway. We want to attract different businesses that fit in within our community, and doing so, we're going to have to work. We're going to have to work together, and together with the LED, the St. Tammany Corporation, and the St. Tammany Chamber of Commerce, and bringing in new businesses and making sure it fits in within the scope. Now, as far as the Port de Maroney project is concerned, one of the things that what we don't want is a blighted piece of property that's been there as pre-stressed concrete for as long as I can, since before I was born, actually. And moving forward with that project, what we want to do is, what I would like to see is just to pay close attention to each phase of that project moving forward to make sure that it's well within the plan and scope of our community, and then bringing in revenue in various areas through businesses. And then from what I understand, LSU has planned to put a home there for the elderly and have students there as well from LSU Medical School. So moving forward, I would like to just make sure that those phases, each phase of that project is closely looked at, and that we bring in businesses to our area that fit within our area, and we fill any vacancies that are still there. Thank you.
It goes back to what I was talking about earlier about listening. I think that the city of Mandeville, the leadership, needs to be much more proactive in going to businesses and asking them, what do you need and how can we help? I am going to commit 2 hours a week, if I'm the next mayor, to doing just that. That means for 2 hours each week, that's all I'm going to do is go to businesses and pop in and say, how's it going? Is there anything that we can do? Me being a people person, the idea of economic development is, you need to be able to talk to both sides. You need to be able to go to a business and say, what do you need and how can we help? And then go to the residents that live nearby. A recent example of that was the infamous pothole that was before you got into the Starbucks parking lot. There's nothing the city can do about that because that's on private property. But if you were to go to the businesses and work with them and say, come on, can you fill that pothole? And then the city will come back and help you with landscaping, on the city's property. That's working both sides, okay? In terms of economic development, I have many relationships with many in the economic development field, and they've told me it's always good when a mayor or a council person is interested in what tenant might be coming, but they should not necessarily get involved in that process. Let the market figure that out. But once a tenant is selected, the mayor needs to go and say, what do you need and how can we help? And so I believe by going the 2 hours a week will help on the business retention end, which is just as important as the business recruitment. And real quick about Port Maroney. The Port Maroney issue has been resolved, an ordinance has been passed, and if I'm the next mayor, I have to honor, by law, any ordinance passed by the city council. I will honor that ordinance. I promise you one thing, if I'm the next mayor, everything involving that will be done ethically, out in the open, and transparently.
Part of my platform is responsible development. We need to balance the needs of businesses with the need to preserve the community character. Development must be consistent in size and scale with existing development. The original proposal from Port Maroney did not comply with our regulations. It was too dense. The town center buildings were too tall. It exceeded our height restrictions. The lot sizes were too small. There was insufficient green space, and there were too many apartments. In the end, I worked with fellow Councilman Pulaski and the legal department to draft an ordinance providing for the development of Port Maroney because it's important, but ensuring that it complied with our regulations. The height of the apartments were lowered, the lot sizes were increased, green space was added, and the density was reduced. I have consistently fought for thoughtful neighborhood development. As mayor, I will continue to ensure that development complements the character of the city and is consistent with surrounding neighborhoods because I believe it to be a win-win economically. Thank you.
Okay, well, I just want to start by saying that I have actually been a business owner myself in Mandeville, so I understand some of the challenges that that can come about when you're trying to be a businessman in Mandeville. One of the problems I see in Mandeville right now is we need to be a little bit more efficient in the ways that we offer our permits and our services to the potential business owners. That's been kind of a complaint that I've heard from people as I've talked to them. Some people say, well, it's very cumbersome. I think that you could do things a little bit more efficiently and make things a little bit easier for us to be able to comply with the city requirements. So I think that's always a good thing to look at, streamlining systems and processes. I actually was involved with helping write the ordinances for the B3 mixed-use development. And what that did was balance the needs of business owners alongside of residents. And that's not always the easiest thing to do, especially when it's new to any to people living in the area. But we've been able to successfully do that in the city. If you go down to the old Mandeville area, you find that it is now a vibrant little area that didn't exist just a few years back. My wife and I were one of the anchor businesses that started on the corner of Girard Street, but as you go down now, it's predominantly business mixed with some of the residents in there. So I think that's something we need to continue to be able to do, is to encourage those little small cottage businesses to be able to come into the Mandeville area. Also, touching on Port Maroney just a little bit, I do have some intimate knowledge of that. Obviously, that was a contentious issue that we went through. The city suffered great losses in costs for professional services, attorney's fees, and even an undisclosed amount of money that an insurance company had to step in and pay for. So I think that we can follow the rules and the processes that have been set up for us. If we do that a little bit better, it's going to save the city of Mandeville a lot of money. And that's what I kind of want to concentrate on is let's follow the rules. Let's make sure we're doing things right, and that will help to encourage and inspire people to come to Mandeville.
Thank you all. Question number 2 is going to be for a 2-minute response. What will you do to promote the growth and investment of small business, including entertainment and recreation? Please give specific answers and ideas.
So, in promoting small businesses' growth and entertainment as well, we have some small businesses that are being created right now. I mean, there's a new bar in Old Mandeville that's also a wine shop, and then there's really a nice walking community, and I would like to grow on that. But as far as enticing the new businesses, it would be nice to just work with local businesses as well as different entities around, like the Chamber of Commerce, and see what would be appropriate, where it could be, and also just as far as anything goes, it's just dealing with the community. I would just like to just speak with the community to find out exactly what it is that they would like to see here. As far as entertainment is concerned, I know that they have the new play, the new theater over by Liz is Where You At, and those small companies. But I'm not sure. I mean, we have the Trailhead that you can promote different entertainment ideas as far as the music is concerned, or anything getting active with the people. But the biggest thing is just kind of listening to others to see where they want to go and working with the various entities around. Thank you.
Thank you. It's a great question. One of the things I've done on the City Council is promote parks, and one of the biggest capital projects that I have wanted and promoted and voted in favor of is expanding the trailhead by buying the adjacent piece of property. What this would do would expand the area for a park. People would have a place to stop off as they're riding their bike, and you could designate the trailhead as the activity center for Mandeville. Now, you let the market grow around it naturally. But if you had a natural activity and entertainment center right in the middle of Old Mandeville, and there's room to do it, that's something that I've been in favor of. And I think that we could expand on what's already there by promoting outdoor theater, outdoor art shows. People love that sort of stuff. And I think we look no further than our neighbors in Covington and how they've done such a great job. Now, Mandeville, with promoting the arts and entertainment and letting economic development feed off of that, I think Covington has done a great job. Now, Covington and Mandeville are different. Mandeville does not have a downtown. Covington does. But I think if you bought that property at the trailhead, you could designate that as the activity center and really expand on some of the stuff that we're already doing. The second part of the question was small business. I believe I've already answered that. It's just going to the small businesses, listening, asking them what they need, how can we help you. And I also think that people in Mandeville that I've spoken to, the majority of them are young families moving here and they want stuff to do. There is a lot to do with the lakefront and the trailhead already, but it can be expanded. One of the things we've worked on the council is getting a park on the west side. Some of the subdivisions have their own park, but there really is no city park west of North Causeway Boulevard, and that's something that we've been working on, and that I will continue to promote and look for a piece of property as mayor on the west side.
A few things. I think we need to take a look at sales tax. Louisiana has one of the highest sales tax in the country, and that's not exactly a selling point where we want to attract businesses and support our businesses. There are also some aesthetic improvements that we could make to some of the older shopping centers. We could do a better job at marketing the city. We need to promote, support, and maintain a healthy environment for business growth. And we might need to think outside the box, especially now while a lot of businesses are struggling across the United States. Retail is struggling, mostly due to the internet. We need to think outside of the box to find solutions. We should get the business community together to see exactly what the needs are, because things have changed in business, so the needs have changed. Thank you.
Specifically, talking about growth in a specific area, I suppose, I am all about our downtown or our town center. Mandeville has a designated town center or downtown, if you don't know this. We began working on this years ago, and even at some point in time, we were awarded a state matching grant or funds to help develop that. Some of you will remember that Andres Dewani, one of the world-class planners, came into the area and actually performed a charrette. I had a charrette with a lot of you folks who may have participated in this. And what we came to, the belief was, is that is the perfect location for a downtown. Since then, that plan has been shelved, pretty much sitting on a shelf next to two other plans. One that was performed by the American Planning Association that pretty much said the same thing. And then there was previously a two-lane study that said the same thing as well. So I'm itching to be involved with making that work. I would work with the city council to try and formulate plans. How do we get this to happen? How do we acquire property? Specifically events or entertainment that I think I can mention. I've been involved with the Ozone Music Education Foundation. One of the things we do each year is put on a songwriters festival. Now, this previous year we just brought in songwriters from 14 states. They performed on 5 stages, and it was a 2-day event. And this is a fundraiser for children in St. Tammany Parish. We provide instruments as well as lessons for the kids in our area. So this is one of the specific entertainment ideas that I've already been working on and we've been doing. Going back to it, just to summarize, I think, like I said, our town center needs to certainly be worked at. We've actually gotten money from the state, but we've forfeited it for inactivity. So that's it.
Well, the first thing we need to do is open the city for business. A local commercial builder was asked by a national retailer wanting to build a business in Mandeville. And he said, the builder asked him, what's your time frame? And he said, a little less than a year. He laughed and said, you need to go elsewhere. That same general contractor described Mandeville's planning and process as a slightly better than a dumpster fire, and totally changing with no clear discernible path. As a developer, again, I understand the most important thing is clarity of process. Many are fine with no more development, but I think what they're really saying is no more new development. Repurposing old rundown theaters and Chinese restaurants, which I actually have a little knowledge in because that's what I did with the Florida Lee Event Center, is something I think we all can agree on. Nationally, we're facing a big box crisis, evidenced by the closing of Kmart, Winn-Dixie, and now Stage. While I do have direct experience repurposing, my experience was private, not public, and not government. That's why it's important for us to switch to a professional city manager form of government and have a CEO that's a business-trained person leading Mandeville. Once approved by voters, we can conduct a national search for a manager with direct experience with economic transitions. Remember, what would you rather running City Hall, a politician or a professional?
Thank you all. We will go to question 3, and this is a 2-part question. Do you support the renewal of the half-cent sales tax when Mandeville already has an admitted $40 million surplus? And why is that the admitted surplus when the legislative auditor's report shows over $60 million in cash and cash equivalents? That's 1 minute.
Okay, well, I've done a lot of research on this, and you are right. It is upwards of $60 million. We collect more than we spend every year, and we put about $2.5 million into our fund balances every year. I believe that we need to give that money back to the constituents. I believe we should let the constituents decide how they want that money back. I believe there's 2 ways. The sales tax will be renewed up for an election in May, where it will be up for renewal. If it is not renewed, I will absolutely respect the wishes of the voters and run the city without that. But I also think if it were renewed, there's an opportunity to give people money back through a property tax, reimbursing property taxes. There's a way to bring the property tax millage lower. And when you compare how many people come into the city of Mandeville and use our roads, it's going to be up to the citizens to decide, do they want it sales tax or property tax? But to answer the question, yes, we collect more money than we spend, and I believe we need to give it back to the voters.
Thank you. Yes, the Mandeville Financial Oversight Committee recommended that we place the renewal on the ballot, and I support their recommendation. But if the public rejects this renewal, I would support that as well. I do think transparency is key. Anytime the city asks for money, they need to clearly define what the money will be used for. This half-cent sales tax is for streets and drainage. It brings in about $2.6 million. Flooding and drainage is a crucial issue in Mandeville, and we do need to have solutions in place. In speaking about our budget surplus, it is true that we have a surplus in the budget. The budget includes actual costs for health care and retirement. However, it does not include funding for future liabilities. We do have a net pension liability in excess of $13 million and post-employment obligations in excess of $3.5 million. We need a strategic plan to address these future liabilities.
To address the half-cent sales tax, certainly this is something that Mandeville has come to rely on for streets and repairs to our roadways. And you can look around and see that those roadways are in good shape through the maintenance program that we've initiated over the years. With regards to the budget, yeah, I've heard I have a mixed understanding of this. From what I've been told, each year we are budgeting certain amounts of money to complete projects, but as a result of those projects not being approved or not going through, they're going back into the budget for the following year. Surely we have to be very careful about sales tax and other taxes. As we begin to see sales tax be diminished by the internet and other ways of people spending their money, basically we have to be concerned that we still have enough money to operate. So it's something we have to be very responsible about. We don't want to get into a trick bag where we don't have enough money to fund our liabilities.
I'm an electrical engineer, general contractor. I am not a CPA. I don't have knowledge about taxes, these different things. And that's the exact reason why we need a professional. Bottom line is, I frankly don't know. I really don't. Because I haven't looked at it. My father-in-law votes against every tax. Doesn't matter what it is. He votes against every tax. So maybe that's a reason to keep it. I don't really know. But I do know that I don't know. And that's why we need to get a professional, somebody who is going to college, somebody who has had experience with these issues in other cities, in other municipalities in this country, and they know what it is, and they know the right thing to do, and they won't say, I don't know. So remember, would you rather have a politician or a professional running the city? Thank you.
Yes, it's my understanding that it was the Financial Oversight Committee that did recommend that we put the renewal of the half-cent sales tax on the ballot, and that if the citizens were to vote on that renewal, that they would, the citizens of Mandeville, that is, Mandeville proper, would have some relief with property tax. And then that way that the sales tax that are coming in are going to be coming in from all over, including the people that are using our roads, and that was the foresight of the Financial Oversight Committee. The surplus is certainly the people's money, which we definitely need to have a better communication of what the budget is, where that money is going to for the people, and I do believe that it should be up to the people whether or not that tax gets renewed. Thank you.
Thank you all, and we'll go to question number 4. Do you believe the Mandeville Historic District Pluro rules and P&Z boards have too much discretion in taking away individuals' property rights with excessive regulation?
No, I do not. Actually, I know Councilman Pulaski worked to strengthen the historic regulations most recently, and I support that. I believe that we need to preserve our rich cultural heritage, and we were losing a lot of the smaller homes to larger developments. These smaller homes were being demolished, and then people were building large homes from lot line to lot line, and they were really out of character with Mandeville. And I think it's very important that we know who we are, and that I don't believe the regulations are too strict. I think they just ask that development be consistent to our rich history.
Okay, with regards to the Historical Commission, I've kind of watched this thing morph into where it began, where it was supposed to help us to preserve and save some of the older homes, the craftsman homes that were disappearing throughout the area. And what it's become now is something akin to what's beginning to happen, or what's happening in the Vieux Carré. It's not as bad, but I sat in a couple of meetings and watched people be told that they didn't like the sashes that they were bringing forth for their design for new construction. I think we need to follow some more balance. And I do agree with what Ms. Sika has said, that the original reason for doing this was to preserve that historical nature that makes Mandeville so special and makes it a great place to live. With regards to planning and zoning, having sat on that, I've looked at this and I see the need for these types of regulations to protect the quality of life in Mandeville. Believe me, without enough of the regulations, people can run ramshot all over the city, and it's easy for them to do. That there are always the loopholes, the ways they can get around things. So I don't think we have too much regulation with regards to the planning and zoning. However, I will say that I do believe our Coro needs to be updated and cleaned up, because there's certain things in the list of ordinances that are hard to understand and sometimes are ambiguous as well.
I don't think the problem is the rules. I think the problem is following the rules. If everybody has the same rules and we all have to play by the same deal, everything works. But the problem in Mandeville is very clear. We are very strict up front, and then nothing matters after. It just doesn't matter. Drive through old Mandeville. Look at the old cars sitting everywhere. And why is that? Why would that be there? In the strong mayor form of government, if something isn't working, the natural tendency is to avoid the problem, withhold information, and hope things get better before the next election. In the city manager form, the professional city manager must explain what his staff is doing. This creates staff loyalties through the city manager to the council and ultimately to the voters. When voters are upset about something, they know exactly who to direct their feedback. They're elected representatives on the council. Their feedback applies pressure to the council, who directs the city manager to make changes. And the city manager must take action, because if he doesn't, the collective city council is his boss, and they'll fire him because he's an at-will employee. But in the strong mayor form, there's no voter feedback point. The mayor and the staff blame the council blames the mayor, the staff answers to the mayor, so they withhold information fearful of the mayor. Just a finger-pointing, ineffective blame game. Sound familiar? Again, would you rather have a politician or a professional as the city manager, as the CEO of Mandeville?
Having grown up in a registered historical home in Old Mandeville, I would have to say that it is very important for us to have the regulations from the Historic Commission moving forward to preserve the historic value of Mandeville. And as far as the planning and zoning is concerned, it is a necessity for those regulations and moving forward to make sure that we do preserve our area and quality of life. I do believe that the planning and zoning is there to work with the people to go forward with different regulations and development of housing and different projects. So I don't think that there's an excess of regulations, but I believe the regulations are there for a purpose of preserving our beautiful city. Thank you.
Really good question. I believe that the planning and zoning process in Mandeville, including the Historic District Commission, there are some institutional things that need to be reformed. And I don't know how many people are aware of this, but if you go to the planning and zoning and you're denied, your appeal is to planning and zoning, the same group that denied you. We're the only municipality in the state of Louisiana that does that. For those of you that have done business with St. Tammany Parish, you know that if you're denied at the St. Tammany Parish Planning and Zoning, you go to the council to appeal. That is an institutional thing that I think needs to change. I think that we need to change that so that people's only recourse when they're denied at planning and zoning is not to have to go to the 22nd Judicial District Court and hire a lawyer, and some people are not, can't afford that. So that is one thing that I think needs to change. I'm very happy that we were able to, in the City Council, put term limits with planning and zoning members. They currently can serve 2 7-year terms. I wanted it to be a little bit less than that, 1 full 7-year term. You can sit out for a year and then come back, because I do absolutely agree that it is something that involves a lot of institutional knowledge and learning. But I think where you get into trouble is when somebody's been there in the same place for 20, 25, 30 years. As a councilman, I want to employ logical remedies to a lot of these problems, and that can only be accomplished through listening to our constituents. And one area was the tree ordinance. I had a guy in Lakewood Heights call me. He said, I had to take a tree down. It was leaning toward my house, and they want me to plant 7 more. Everybody loves trees, but he didn't even have that many trees on the property when he bought the house. So, yes, I think we need to replant trees when we take trees down, but I don't think asking somebody to plant 7 trees when he just has to take 1 down is the best answer. So I think that there's things like that as a council and as mayor that we can listen to our constituents better and reform the process.
What are your top 3 road infrastructure priorities?
As we know, Mandeville has become more of a gateway in terms of traffic for a majority of the traffic that's coming through our town. So we need to embrace new ways and areas. I know that the Highway 22 sector or section of town is really a tough area for cars to pass through, especially coming from the causeway. But there are things that we need to be doing to embrace those roadways to make them better, enhance them. We looked at Covington, and they utilize the J-turns. And if you travel between Mandeville and Covington these days, you'll understand that it's not a hard thing to do anymore. Roundabouts. We've had a lot of people that don't like the roundabouts for some reason, but now we've seen them working on Sharp Road, the Lacombe area, and also in Covington. Monroe Street, has been under a maintenance program. If you notice what's going on with that, that's the idea to maintain these roads, is to basically keep them maintained on a regular schedule. Beyond that, I can't think of any other specific projects.
I know politicians love to say traffic. I don't think Mandeville has traffic problems. We have problems where other people's traffic backs up into Mandeville, but if the causeway is running smooth and the new infrastructure on Highway 190 is moving smooth, we don't have problems in Mandeville. We just don't. Every now and then I'm going across I live in Fontainebleau, I'm going across the little, the light there right here by Benedict's, and it doesn't come on fast enough, but that's about the biggest problem I have. I do think we have some other things that we could do, but again, if we hire a professional city manager who has experience doing these things, who has done these things in other cities, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. So again, would you rather a politician or a city manager?
Well, as far as our traffic concerns, I would have to say that we all have experienced traffic here in Mandeville, especially at the growing years, and that traffic is not really a matter of convenience, but it's a matter of safety and a matter of commerce. I mean, so if there's too much gridlock, too much traffic, people can't get to the businesses. But most importantly, it's if there's some sort of dire need situation that first responders cannot get through, and I would look forward to really working out the traffic problems with the DOTD, encouraging local business and the planning and zoning in our community to share ideas to go forward. Thank you.
Thank you. That's a great question. My first one, Highway 22. Mandeville was set up so that traffic would move north-south, and a lot of our problems are east-west. I do not get any complaints as a councilman about traffic on Breton Way in Woodstone. I don't get, complaints about traffic on my street in Old Golden Shores. I get complaints about I believe the city of Mandeville does a very good job of taking care of their roads that are within the city of Mandeville. The complaints that I get are about shared roads, okay? And that includes Highway 22. I hosted a traffic meeting about a year ago where we invited all of the people, Department of Transportation, the Madisonville mayor, the state, and the city of Mandeville, all in one room with DOTD to go over these issues. The next mayor of Mandeville and the mayor of Madisonville, they need to be best friends, getting in the car together, going to the legislature, and figuring that out together. Highway 190, going towards Pelican Park, there's a project right now. I think we need to do what Covington did on Highway 190 North. That's a 2-for-1 where we could employ some beautification as well. And the last thing is the lakefront flooding, because I know we talked about part of this question was infrastructure. I think we need to hire a professional to look at that, and we've pushed for that on the city council, and I think we need to employ technology better in looking at that.
Thank you. The three areas I would say, number one, connectivity. I think we need to explore connectivity opportunities between the west side and the east side for pedestrians and bikes. There's a lot of focus on cars, but we forget that we're still a population of less than 13,000, and this city is not that large. It would be nice to get from one side to the other on foot or on bike. I've lived on both sides of the city, and I'm currently in Fontainebleau subdivision, and I find it very difficult to ride my bike to the lakefront. I plan to coordinate with State and Causeway Commission to improve that connection between the East Causeway and West Causeway approach for safer access. Number two, I think we need to address the flooding issues on the lakefront and also on Highway 22 near Roquette Lodge. And lastly, 190 or Florida Boulevard. There's a lot of discussion about that. It's got the middle lane, which most people refer to as the suicide lane. And I know that it moves quickly, but I don't think that it's the safest road. So I do think we need to analyze that as well. Thank you.
Okay, that's the end of the individual questions. Thank you all. And now we're going to start with the lightning round. That's 8 questions, yes or no answers only, please. And we will rotate, and we're going to start with Chad in the lightning round. Question number 1, yes or no. Should the city encourage similar economic development along the lakefront, such as the Rest a While redevelopment?
I don't know. I would let a city manager decide.
Yes.
Yes.
In the B3 zones, not in the residential areas along the lakefront.
Yes.
Okay. Number 2, do you support the Lieutenant Governor's plans to develop a hotel conference center at Fontainebleau State Park? Yes or
I
no?
should say hell no. Oh, I guess I did.
Hell no counts.
No.
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 Absolutely no.
Okay. Question 3. As mayor, would you encourage the school board to fast track a Madisonville high school to help alleviate Mandeville traffic congestion?
Absolutely.
Yes.
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 Okay. Did you agree with the current city council's decision to have voters decide to reduce the mayoral salary?
No.
Absolutely.
No.
Yes.
Yes.
Question 5. Will you support initiation and implementation of a residential recycling program? Yes or no?
Yes.
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 Okay. Number 6. Do you believe the dysfunction between the current city council and the administration, especially regarding the Port Maroney project, has hurt the image of Mandeville? Yes or no?
Yes. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Number 7, as mayor, would you support plans for the city of Mandeville to have a city manager versus an elected mayor? We could skip Chad.
Yeah. Yes.
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 And number 8, is Mandeville better today than it was 4 years ago?
Yes.
Yes.
No.
No.
Candidate closing remarks. Each person gets 2 minutes to close, and we'll start with Lorraine Sika.
Thank you. I am running for mayor because I want to make a difference. I was raised on the North Shore, and I've seen the changes. I owned a small business in Mandeville. I understand the challenges that businesses face and the importance of promoting and supporting our local businesses. I have lived on both sides of Mandeville. I lived in Old Mandeville on the east side and Fontainebleau subdivision on the west. I understand the challenges that citizens face in terms of connectivity and the need to preserve our quality of life. I am honored to be serving on the council for nearly 4 years. I'm proud of my accomplishments. I have consistently fought for thoughtful development, stormwater management, preservation of the character of the community, protection of tax dollars, and transparency in government. As mayor, I will continue to strive to achieve these goals. I have proven that I can work with others, take action, and get results. I have the background, experience, and capability to lead Mandeville to the next level of success. I ask for your support at the April 4th election. Thank you.
I want to thank the Chamber again for hosting this forum. This is great. God bless America for us to be able to do this. Again, my name is Clay Madden. I'm running for mayor of Mandeville. I have a master's degree in public administration. I have 8 years' experience of running city council meetings, running budget meetings. I ran every Port Maroney meeting that was before the city council. So I have the experience. I know what is working and what is not working inside City Hall. This has been accomplished from talking to residents, homeowner association presidents, police officers, employees. I believe that the next mayor of Mandeville needs to be a people person that can go and listen to both sides. As a chamber, if there's a project that you want in Mandeville, you want somebody that can go to the other side, listen to their concerns, and meet at a compromise. And I have the people skills to be able to do that. You don't want somebody that has tunnel vision that's going to ram it down somebody's throat, because that's going to turn people off. I have the accessibility and the visibility in the community. Everybody knows I'm always up for meeting for a cup of coffee at Starbucks, PJ's, the Book and Bean, or for lunch. I'm visible in the community. I'm at the ribbon cuttings. I'm at the events, most of the time with my 2 little girls. I've served on nonprofit boards. I know the community. And last but not least, I have the relationships. We mentioned traffic and other items, other projects that we're going to be doing. It's good to have a great relationship with the parish president, the parish council, the state representatives, the state senators, the Causeway Commission. And I have those relationships. And I think that makes me qualified for mayor. Again, thank you. And go Tigers.
Well, for the last 8 years, I've dedicated my life to helping others, and I want to continue helping others and our community through public service. I am committed to making a stronger community, a better economy, and keeping our children and grandchildren here in the future. And I would appreciate the opportunity to serve. Thank you.
I first decided to run for mayor because I wanted to keep Mandeville a great place for me to live, my kids, and the future generations. I felt like becoming mayor for 4, 8, or possibly 12 years was the way to accomplish that. But what then? I was wrong. My brother's city just elected a photographer as mayor. I'm sure she's great, but a photographer, really? She's degreed in photography, owns a photography business, yet now she is mayor of a city of 12,657. By the way, in comparison, Mandeville is 12,318. Now she's mayor, her photography business has a job opening. What if I applied? I'm an engineer, And I take lots of pictures of my cats with my cell phone. But she would think that ridiculous, with my qualifications or lack thereof, yet she is mayor. Really? Don't worry, I don't need a job. I am running for mayor to do one job: to change Mandeville to a professional city manager council form of government. I understand this concept is new to Mandeville and Louisiana, but it's not new. 55% of municipalities in America have this form of government. In fact, there's several small cities in Texas that are run this way. One of them's name is Dallas, Fort Worth, San Antonio, but I'm sure everybody here would agree that New Orleans is run tremendously better than Dallas, right? For more information, I've set up a website, MandevilleCityManager.com, where we were going to continue this conversation. I'd love to meet with anybody who has any questions to explain how we can guarantee future professional leadership of this great city. And remember, would you rather have a politician or a professional as a CEO of Mandeville?
I want to thank you again for attending today's forum. Speaking as a lifelong resident of Mandeville, I've watched Mandeville as it's changed over the years from a little sleepy hamlet into a bustling city. And I believe we're sort of at a crossroads right now. The question is, do we continue with the leadership that we have at present that's constantly mired in lawsuits, contentious fights, fights that put the city in harm's way from time to time? Or do we start fresh with a new leader who has the right temperament to work well with others? Someone who can connect people, who can reset a tone of decorum and respect at City Hall. Someone who has a broad range of experience and successes in the private sector, but as well in the public sector. Someone who's owned a business and understands those challenges that we face as business owners. Someone who appreciates the small town charm that Mandeville has to offer and who's willing to fight hard to protect it. Also, someone who understands that public servant is not a title. It's a willingness to help others. And lastly, someone who's not afraid to make tough decisions, but they're very careful that those decisions protect the city and the people who live in it. If you think Mandeville should head in a new direction, what I would ask you to make a change, to hit reset, to begin a new decade with a new face, fresh ideas, bold visions, and the ability to protect the city. If this is how you feel, I'll ask you to vote for me in April. Thank you so much. God bless you all, and God bless Mandeville. Thank you.
Thank you all for participating, and thanks once again to the Chamber for having us as a sponsor and for allowing me to moderate today. I think we have some closing remarks from Tom. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Well, thank you, Andy, and our sponsors, the High Speed Union Advocate. Thank you very much for doing this. And again, to the Chamber, this is a membership of, a value of being a member of the Chamber of Commerce. We put together programs like this for you, so you can hear from the candidates running for office, as well as many things going on. And again, I want to look at our 5 candidates running for the mayor of Mandeville, or manager, whatever you want to do. They're running for that office. And I can tell you this, they all have very different ideas, very different things they want to do, but they all want something better. And they want to see Mandeville continue to be a phenomenal place to live, play, and work. So thank you guys for that. We all see that in your passion. April 4th is the election. You got to make sure you vote, or else it doesn't matter. And that's also the same day as a presidential primary. So should be a fun election going on that day. Guys, have a blessed, phenomenal day. Thank you for being part of this, and we hope to see you soon.